Welcome back to our family's boat shop, everyone. We're doing an update this week on our project boat, and more specifically, the fuel tank installation in our project boat. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'd like to welcome you. My name is Joe Buskins. I'm a second-generation professional boat builder and a 100-ton licensed captain. This is our family's boat shop, and actually behind us is the boat that we custom built here that we run in our charter operation. So this is our project boat, and this is the fuel tank that came out of it. And I know many of you folks have been following the channel and wondering what is currently going on with the project boat. So we're going to update you a little bit. So one of the things that's been going on is we've been trying to find a good source, somebody that can work with us and the channel on sourcing a fuel tank. And I want to go with something slightly different than the configuration on this plastic fuel tank. And we're going to be touching bases on that a little bit, telling you pros and cons of different inlets and outlets. But basically, we have found someone. It's Ezell Manufacturing. They're in Florida. I'll be sure to leave their contact information, their number down below the description and here on the screen. But I want to switch to an aluminum fuel tank because we can change the configuration of the fittings. The fittings have a lot to do with how fuel goes in and out of the tank, obviously, but more specifically on this boat, it was rigged for the fuel to come in. The filler was at the stern of the boat and came to the back of the tank. And if you ever owned a boat that's like that, it'll gurgle and spit and cause all kind of problems when you're trying to put fuel in it. So what we're doing is Ezell, they actually made the tank for our 29 over there. It's a big 160-gallon fuel tank that's been in service. We've put almost 10,000 miles on that boat. It's been doing really, really well. But we have the fuel coming in at the front of the tank in a vertical fill, and then there's going to be a pickup tube that runs to the back of the tank so that you can get all the capacity out of it. But for anybody that's been following the channel and wants to kind of leap ahead a little bit, if you haven't seen the build series of our 29, we documented every step of the build of that boat, including the fuel tank prep and installation. So that would be episodes 2, 3, and 4 on our We Are Building a New Boat, the 29 build series. And so feel free to jump back in the channel and you can see exactly what we did if you're ready to move forward. Now, I did have a few questions on our last episode on our project boat. We did screw down and glue down our forward panel here. And I think a few folks were a little bit confused about how we were going to get the fuel tank installed if we're already putting the panels down. But all I was doing was putting some panels down just to illustrate the process of how we would be doing it. But the ones in the aft section back here, these panels back here are just temporarily, they're just temporarily tacked in place. And we will not be putting those in permanently until the fuel tank goes in permanently, and then those panels, those Coosa board panels, will be going down over it. So maybe that kind of, sorry for the confusion if there was any. Sometimes basically I was just trying to move forward for folks that were doing this kind of work and could get an idea of what to do as far as putting your panels down. Now I'd like to step forward just a little bit and talk about the installation on this particular boat. And what we do plan to do is basically we're going to be leaving approximately a 1-inch gap on either side of the fuel tank. So we got a space here right at 19.5 inches. We're going to have our fuel tank built about 18 inches, and we're going to be leaving a bit of a gap on either side there. And then what we're going to be doing is we are going to be putting a little pier or a little island of Coosa board. We may either go with 1 block or 2 blocks. And then typically what I will do is put some neoprene rubber and some 5200 on those after they're fiberglassed in. And the tank will be setting on top of those. And then there will be some real nice tabs or ears welded on the tank, and we'll be able to lag bolt or through bolt. And then we'll actually be pouring foam all the way around the tank. And again, if you're interested in seeing that process and skipping forward in detail, we already have it documented on our 29 build series. So I would highly recommend you going and checking that out. Now, again, if you're fairly new to the channel or trying to figure out where to source this stuff, the fuel tank comes from Ezell Manufacturing. The Coosa board that we're using right now, that comes from Boat Outfitters. They can definitely hook you up. Be sure to mention that you saw them on FISHBUMPTV. And as far as any resin or gel coat or structural putties that you may need, Fiberglass Warehouse is going to be your connection for them, and they also have a very decent FISHBUMPTV discount code. But This is a bit of an update video. Again, if you've been following the channel, you know who I am and who we are and what we're doing. But we're kind of in an interesting place right now with the channel in that we're going into our summertime charter season, or really our springtime charter season. But for like the next 6 months, we fish a lot in the charter business. And we want to continue to keep content rolling here on the channel, but also balance our charter business, which is our summertime bread and butter. Matter of fact, we've got a lot of fishing videos here on the channel if you want to see what I do in the summertime out on the 29 and see it perform and in action. But I've recently done something that I thought y'all might be interested in seeing for the longtime followers of the channel, is a glimpse into what we call the jig or the plug, which is what we built prior to building the mold for our 29 footer. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna briefly step out of our project boat, and we will be getting back to it. We're not stopping on the project boat. Just for those of you that don't realize it, it is not a paying customer's job, and everything we're doing, the time and the materials are self-financed. And so we do have some companies helping us with materials, but it's expensive and time consuming to do this kind of work. So I hope y'all understand, sometimes, just like in the previous 2 episodes, I had to back up and we did the structural keel repair, and that was for a paying client because the bills keep coming no matter what. And this is a working shop, and we gotta get some work done every now and again. But I was curious if y'all would see maybe a dedicated video going in depth a little bit more about how we designed and built this plug or this pattern for our 29 footer. Now, I know it looks pretty rough right now because in the process of demolition, we had to get in there with a sawzall and hammers and bust some of this glass out. But I kind of did it in some phases so that y'all could see just a little bit about how we would form up the stem. And then this is what we call the chines or the spray rails. And then obviously you got a series of frames that transition from the spray rails down to the keel. And this is kind of an interesting view over here. Even the process of building the spray rails, if you look here, you can actually see it's just 1/4 inch birch furniture grade, 3/4 inch square block, and then we just faired this in to get the shape we want. Now, this has been sitting here dormant for several years now since we built a mold off of it, but it was waxed and polished to a perfect shine. And then that's what we built the mold off of. But I've mentioned this in a couple episodes back on our panel and core selection guide. I would like to build another boat at some point, and I'm curious if y'all would y'all would be interested in seeing us build another boat from scratch. But this time maybe without a mold, but doing it more of what we call a one-off type build, or just a custom one-of-a-kind build, where we would be using this wooden form and basically using something like Ezell in 3/4 and 1/2 inch sheet, and then we would be laminating and fiberglassing on the outside and the inside, and then we would either be gel coating it on the exterior, or we'd be using a product like All Grip, which we've got some videos for that kind of stuff too. So just, my mind is going right now. We've got a lot of ideas of what we're gonna be doing, but I don't think it's gonna take us a terribly long time to get to a stopping point on our project boat. And I would genuinely like to know what you, our viewers, would like to see. It also reminds me, for the channel to continue to grow, the views that you guys give us, the long view duration, is super helpful. So if you're hanging out around the house and just want something on in the background, if you can let these videos roll from start to finish, give us that thumbs up, that share, that like, that comment, that tell a friend in the boating community. That helps tremendously, and it helps us justify spending more time on these project boats and things that we're doing specifically just for our YouTube community out there. So again, just want to thank everybody so much for your support. But I think that's kind of the progress report, the update in general. If I missed anything or you're curious about something that I didn't mention, again, please comment. I read all the comments and try to respond to as many as I can. Also, our Facebook group page is a great place for folks in our community to go check out and see other folks that are rebuilding, restoring, renovating, working on their boat projects as well. And I also want to personally thank our Patreons that support the channel monetarily and through their consulting work that we do through Patreon. So again, Captain Joe here, Island Marine Charters, Fish Bump TV. My son Logan working hard behind the scenes as my amazing cameraman. And we'll catch you in the next episode.